In a world where travel has become more accessible than ever, some countries are reconsidering their approach to tourism. In this video, we'll explore 10 countries that are on the verge of implementing strict measures or outright bans on tourists. From Bhutan's commitment to sustainability to North Korea's tightening of borders, each destination faces unique challenges that could reshape their tourism landscapes. Join us as we delve into the complex interplay of environmental concerns, cultural preservation, and political instability that could lead these nations to say no to tourists in the near future. 1. Bhutan. Prioritizing sustainability. Bhutan is often called the last Shangri-La because of its breathtaking landscapes and deep-rooted traditions. The country has always been selective about letting outsiders in, charging tourists a hefty daily fee of $250 or more. This isn't just about money, it's a way of making sure mass tourism never takes over and that Bhutan's forests, rivers, and mountain air stay unspoiled. Over the past year, the government has debated even stricter rules, with officials openly considering a seasonal or complete ban on tourists in especially fragile regions. The focus is to protect resources for locals, not just to collect tourist dollars. Bhutan's leaders argue that happiness and well-being for their people come first, even if it means turning away eager sightseers. Recent news from the Bhutan Tourism Board confirms ongoing reviews of tourist quotas and possible bans during peak travel months. With the world watching how climate change threatens small nations, Bhutan might soon set a bold example by closing its doors entirely to preserve what makes it so special. 2. North Korea. Tightening borders. North Korea has always kept a tight grip on who comes in and out, but things have gotten even stricter lately. The country only allows a tiny number of guided group tours, and visitors are watched every step of the way. In the past year, global tensions and new sanctions have made the regime even more suspicious of outsiders, viewing tourists as possible threats to internal stability. Reports from North Korea travel advisory groups say there have been further reductions in tourist permissions, with several travel agencies suspending trips altogether. The country's leadership is using the ongoing international scrutiny as a reason to talk about a total shutdown of tourism. State media has hinted that keeping out foreigners is now as much about national dignity as it is about security. Locals rarely interact with visitors, and those who do are closely monitored. With this climate of suspicion, North Korea could soon permanently ban all foreign tourists to protect its tightly controlled way of life. 3. Venezuela. Political instability. Venezuela used to be a paradise for adventure seekers and beach lovers, but the past decade has seen a dramatic change. Hyperinflation, food and medicine shortages, and political clashes have turned the country into a place where few outsiders dare to venture. According to the latest Venezuelan economic statistics, tourist arrivals have dropped by more than 90% since 2014. The government has recently floated the idea of banning tourism altogether, arguing it's not safe for visitors and that resources must go to locals first. International travel advisories now consistently warn against visiting Venezuela for any reason. Local officials claim that a tourist ban would help control crime and ease pressure on basic services. With the crisis showing no signs of easing, Venezuela could soon shut its borders to all tourists, focusing instead on national stability and recovery. 4. Italy. Overcrowding and environmental concerns. Italy's cities are overflowing with tourists, and cracks are starting to show, literally. Venice, for example, has seen its famous canals and squares wear down under the footsteps of millions of visitors each year. The Italian government has tried everything from tourist taxes to new entry checkpoints, but these measures haven't solved the problem. According to the Italian Tourism Authority, some regions are now considering outright visitor bans during the busiest months. Local officials point to research showing that ancient sites like the Colosseum and Florence's Duomo suffer irreversible damage from the crowds. Environmental groups warn that delicate areas like Cinque Terre and the Amalfi Coast are at risk of being loved to death. In the past year, protests by residents in Venice and Florence have grown louder, demanding tougher action. Italy may soon be forced to take the extraordinary step of banning tourists from its most vulnerable destinations to save what remains for future generations. 5. Thailand. Balancing tourism and conservation. Thailand is famous for its sunny beaches and lively markets, but its natural treasures are under pressure from the sheer number of visitors. The government has already closed famous spots like Maya Bay to let coral reefs and marine life recover after years of damage. According to Thailand National Parks reports, officials are now reviewing the impact of tourism on other sensitive areas, with talk of more permanent bans in the works. Local communities in places like Chiang Mai and Phuket have complained about rising costs and environmental strain. The Thai government is caught between the economic benefits of tourism and the urgent need to protect its environment. In the past year, stricter limits have been placed on tourist numbers in several national parks, with more closures expected if conditions don't improve. The focus is shifting from attracting as many tourists as possible to preserving the country's unique culture and natural beauty. If this trend continues, Thailand could soon block outsiders from its most precious sites altogether. 6. Indonesia. Environmental degradation in Indonesia's islands, especially Bali, draw millions of tourists each year, but that popularity has come at a steep price. The surge in arrivals has led to mountains of garbage, polluted beaches, and traffic gridlock. According to the latest Indonesian environmental studies, Bali now produces more than 3,800 tons of waste daily, much of it tied to tourism. The government has responded by closing some beaches and hiking up entry fees to national parks. In recent months, there's been open discussion among officials about banning tourists from highly sensitive zones, including parts of Komodo Island, to protect rare wildlife. Local leaders argue that a temporary or even permanent ban is the only way to give ecosystems a chance to recover. The debate has become a national issue, with the government promising new regulations to control visitor numbers. If bold action isn't taken soon, Indonesia may have no choice but to keep outsiders away from its most threatened natural wonders. 7. Spain. Managing overtourism. Spain is a magnet for travelers, but the crowds have sparked a backlash in cities like Barcelona and Mallorca. Locals complain that narrow streets are packed solid, rents have soared, and traditional shops are being replaced by souvenir stands. According to Spanish tourism management reports, city councils are considering strict bans on tourists in certain neighborhoods to give residents relief. Over the past year, pilot projects in Barcelona have limited short-term rentals and closed off some areas to non-residents. Environmentalists warn that coastal regions like the Balearic Islands are at risk from overdevelopment and pollution. The government is under pressure to act before things spiral out of control. New data reveals that Spain welcomed over 86 million tourists in 2024, far exceeding the capacity of its infrastructure. As public frustration mounts in overcrowded hotspots, the possibility of tourist restrictions or localized bans is becoming increasingly likely. 8. Greece. Cultural preservation. Greece's postcard-perfect islands and ancient ruins are world-famous, but the country is struggling to keep up with the crowds. Places like Santorini and Mykonos are packed to the brim every summer, leading to water shortages and infrastructure breakdowns. The Greek Ministry of Culture has raised concerns about the long-term survival of historical sites, which are being worn down by millions of feet every year. New rules have capped daily visitors at the Acropolis and similar attractions, but some experts argue it's not enough. Recent studies show that local communities are being priced out of their own neighborhoods, with traditional ways of life fading fast. The debate has turned emotional, with many Greeks demanding a pause or outright ban on tourism in the most vulnerable spots. Officials are considering bans during peak periods to give sites a chance to recover. Pressure is mounting for Greece to put its heritage ahead of short-term gains. 9. Japan. Managing visitor impact. Japan has welcomed record numbers of tourists in recent years, but not everyone is celebrating. Crowds in Kyoto and Tokyo have made it almost impossible for locals to enjoy their own cities, and ancient temples are struggling with the constant wear and tear. According to the Japan National Tourism Organization, several areas, including the famous Fushimi Inari Shrine, are at risk of tourist fatigue. In 2024, the government introduced new entry fees and daily visitor limits at the most popular sites. Local leaders are now openly discussing seasonal bans for foreign visitors, especially during cherry blossom season or major festivals. Reports show that rural towns are also asking for help to manage the influx, which strains water supplies and public transport. Calls for a complete tourist ban in certain regions are getting louder, especially where residents have seen their quality of life decline. Japan's approach is shifting from welcoming everyone to protecting what makes the country unique. 10. Maldives. Environmental protection. The Maldives are the stuff of dreams, crystal clear water, coral reefs, and luxury resorts, but the country is on the front lines of climate change. Rising sea levels and coral bleaching threaten not only tourism but the island's very existence. The Maldives Environmental Protection Agency has repeatedly warned that mass tourism worsens these problems by increasing waste and draining natural resources. In response, the government has begun restricting access to certain islands and is reviewing the idea of a full tourism ban to allow nature to recover. Recent studies show that some resorts have already closed sections of their beaches to all visitors. Local officials say the focus must shift from profit to preservation, or there may be nothing left to save. The debate is urgent, as scientists predict that much of the Maldives could be underwater in the coming decades if current trends continue. A total ban on tourists now seems like a real possibility as the nation fights for survival.